Your home for Hannity each afternoon at 3 p.m. Talk 96.3 and 103.7. Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
I just went out for a test, and the First Lady also.
The President last night
tested positive for COVID-19.
We're praying for the President and the First Lady.
The President is strong.
There's all kinds of questions as who was exposed.
What Biden's status is.
Source of the infection to the President might have been Ms. Hicks.
The President will be required to continue to do his job.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. Tom Lamprecht, Bennie Hardy. It is Friday, and the coronavirus story, the President, the First Lady having coronavirus, has literally sucked every other story out of the news. The latest is that the President is having some mild symptoms. He's feeling lethargic, some mild symptoms for the First Lady. It will be interesting to see how all of this plays out, because already you're starting to see some of the people with no feelings jump on the "I hope the President dies" bandwagon. This is unbelievable. In all honesty, I think Joe Biden is a bumbling idiot. I think he'd make a terrible president, but I wouldn't even dream of hoping that if Joe Biden got coronavirus, he and Jill Biden got coronavirus, that I would hope they would die. I wouldn't. I can't. It's unbelievable that people think this way.
Yeah, the party of compassion today has really showed its true colors. And, I just cannot believe some of the people in media and, mainstream media. In fact, there's been several tweets that have been taken down today by some names I'm familiar with. Not really top line names, but names I'm familiar with.
Well, even people that didn't hope he'd die, but would say things along the lines of, well, what do you expect? You didn't wear a mask. It was not exactly compassionate.
And I flipped the channels this morning in the Today Show. They almost seemed gleeful to report it, excited, or I don't know. It's
unbelievable.
Amazing.
I will give kudos. The Vice President Biden and his wife sent out their best wishes and saying that, he did say this is a reminder we need to stay safe and wash hands and social distance and wear masks. But he did say that he and his wife Jill sent best wishes to the First Family for a swift recovery. We will continue to pray for the health and the safety of the President and his family, as did Kamala Harris and her husband say that the President and the First Lady are in their thoughts. Not sure what that does to make them better, but that's a positive. Even Rachel Maddow said she was hoping that the President and the First Lady recovered quickly. The Trump campaign team has basically said they have, for the near future, are canceling all their events, but they are also looking on a case-by-case basis to see if they can go ahead and reschedule some and do some virtual campaign events. I guess that's putting up a large screen and piping in the President and perhaps having the Vice President cover for send out other surrogates to cover for the President. Here we are 30 days away. He is basically taken out of the game for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I still think, though, if his doctor, if he has mild symptoms or
is asymptomatic, yeah.
Which I think was it Mark Meadows came out today and said that he had some mild symptoms that the President had. Yeah, but I would think if the doctor gives him any leeway at all, he'll do something virtual. He'll be on Fox News or Hannity's show or something like that.
Mark Meadows also said that he is continuing to get orders from the President. It was basically business as usual in terms of, now Mark Meadows wasn't right there with him. He was, there virtually with him, but apparently, his first question out of his mouth was, how's the economy doing? And basically went down the checklist that he does every day. It's going to be interesting, too. Not only could it political, I'd say a prayer for the President and the First Lady, and I don't mean to jump right into politics. As soon as I heard this morning, I said, Lord, heal our President, heal the First Lady, and I'm praying that it's asymptomatic. Quite frankly, though, I mean, this election is so important. I'm also praying, Lord, you're the sovereign one. I don't know what you have in mind as you oversee the situation with our country, but I trust you and your sovereignty that you've got something good to come out of this, and I mean that sincerely, and I pray that sincerely, that his ways are not always our ways. But I mean, this is a crazy year. I mean, this is a crazy year.
Yeah, what else can happen? A couple hours ago, I don't know if you saw this, Tom, but Rush Limbaugh issued a statement. If President Trump wants to use this program to do a radio rally, he is more than welcome to.
There you go.
And I'm going to find a way to reach out to the White House and extend this invitation formally.
There you go. And by the way, you're welcome here, Mr. President. I mean,
set that up, Tom.
Yeah, if you want to come to talk to the people of Eastern North Carolina, we'd love to have you. But it's going to also be interesting if it does end up that you continue to have these nut jobs on the left, dancing a jig and hoping he dies. And my goodness, do you not know that once you put it on the internet, it is basically there? I mean, you can delete it, but people take screenshots. It's there, and you're going to get caught. But the other thing is, if he's asymptomatic and he recovers quickly, quite frankly, okay, he got it. He is in a category that, how old was the president? 73, I think.
73, 4, I think.
73, 74. He could lose a few pounds. So he's not, he's in the area of I got to be cautious. But we were talking before we went on the air last night when the news came out that he tested positive. The stock market dropped 500 points. It ended up that it dropped today. At one point, it was almost into positive territory this afternoon. I don't know if it ever got there or not. When I looked at it about 3 o'clock, it was down by 10 points and ended up being down 130. So it didn't have a terrible day, especially, I mean, some of the, vacillating numbers that the stock market had this year, down 130 points isn't that bad. But, it's a situation that if it ends up that he's asymptomatic, recovers from it quickly, that could be a positive that, okay, maybe we have overreacted to this. Now, I recognize I had a friend of ours who she was probably in her 90s, passed away this week, and it was basically COVID that took her. But it also could be a positive if he comes through this and it's not a big deal. That could be a real, politically speaking, something that, the president was right all along. I don't want to get too flippant with it, because obviously it's something serious, and he is in the age category that it's a little bit more of an area that you got to be cautious. We'll see where it goes. There was a situation out there. I can begin to recite for you all the nut jobs on the left. Some of these you would know, others you wouldn't know. Simon Abrams, for once I am rooting for the virus. Daniel Glowson, I don't feel bad about hoping he dies because I've hoping that since 2015. Just time to die, please. I mean, it's just, hope you burn in hell. It's just unbelievable that people think like this.
Yeah, I've seen, some people that I know that have a little bit of, they're more famous than I am, but I won't repeat some of their tweets, but I'm just thinking, like you just said earlier, this you might can delete it, but all you got to do is do a screenshot, and there it goes. It's in the New York Times next week, and I don't know what people are thinking, but I guess it really shows their true colors here in all this.
Jenna Wadsworth is running for the North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture. She came out when she found out that President, this is cut one, Clark, when she found out that the president had tweeted that he and the First Lady had tested positive, she decided that she would go on TikTok and record a what she thought was, I guess, very witty and funny, perhaps. Maybe it was or probably was her true feelings. She has since deleted this, but again, it was a little too late. When you put something, if you're running for public office, especially, I mean, if at the level that you're running for a statewide office, she comes out and, well, here, you listen for yourself. This is Democrat Jenna Wadsworth, a radical climate justice warrior. She's running for the North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture. She recorded herself on TikTok, smugly just delighted in the news that the president had tested positive. She said it ranks up there pretty high.
So just a quick question. On a scale of 1 to 10, is this your favorite or most favorite October surprise in the history of electoral politics?
For me personally, I think it ranks pretty high up there, but, love to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts are this: you just kissed your chances of ever even coming close to a victory. I mean, you weren't going to win anyway. She's running against Steve Troxler. I mean, Steve's not going to lose, but my thoughts are you just kissed your political career away.
Where's Jenna Wadsworth from? Is she from Wake County?
I do not know.
Woke County, I believe.
Woke County, yeah. Anyway, prayers for our president and the first lady. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Keith Kidwell. Keith has called for a day of prayer. And the deeper we get into this political season, and of course it's getting closer all the time, you see what's going on. This has been a crazy year. If there's ever, we always need prayer, but boy, we need it this year. Keith is going to be joining us to talk about his day of prayer that he's called for coming up on October the 14th. Stay with us. More news and views coming up.
Smitty's Restaurant is back open every day for breakfast and lunch from 5:30 to 2. Smitty's is back with their great biscuits and full breakfast items every morning and their great country cooking for lunch at the Country Mart location on Highway 11 between Greenville and Bethel. And don't forget, Country Mart stores are now the home of Shell gasoline. Save 5 cents per gallon on your first 20 gallons with gold status. And remember, Country Mart has your 93-octane non-ethanol premium for boats, lawnmowers, and other small engines. Country Mart Highway 11, where Smitty's is now open, and Highway 903 in Stokes.
Hidden phone trade-ins, hidden plan requirements, hidden catches. You won't find them at U.S. Cellular because we speak fair. Plus, when you switch right now, you can get $500 off the latest phones. Upgrade to fair. Upgrade to U.S. Cellular. Requires new postpaid service plan, new line port in, credit approval, qualified smartphone purchase, and comes via monthly bill credit on a 30-month RIC. Taxes, fees, and additional terms apply.
Does the idea of going to your local U.S. Cellular store make you feel a bit uncomfortable? Tired of the hassle of waiting and wearing a mask? Let Toby Williams and his outside sales team take away that worry. They will come right to your home or office and drop your phone off on the porch or at the front desk for you. Saving you time and worry is what the Cellular Warehouse team is all about. Call Toby Williams today at 252-799-7051. That's 252-799-7051. And let them help you with all your wireless needs. Cellular Warehouse, your local U.S. Cellular authorized agent.
Beauty Bar MediSpa, located on Red Banks Road in Greenville, has been a trusted leader for all of your medical aesthetic needs. Their staff of licensed professionals perform treatments such as Botox, laser hair removal, tattoo removal, facials, skin lifting, tightening, and rejuvenation, just to name a few. And now they are known for giving back, understanding that beauty is more than skin deep. Beauty Bar MediSpa's mission is to help make a difference in their own community and are giving back by donating a portion of all retail products purchased to support NC Stop Human Trafficking in Pitt County, as well as providing complimentary tattoo removal services to victims. Did you know that 40 million people annually are impacted by some type of trafficking? Every time you purchase a product from Beauty Bar MediSpa, you are helping the fight because your beauty is their benefit. To learn more about Beauty Bar MediSpa's Give Back program, go to beautybarbmedispa.com.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Life is chaos.
It's a crazy time right now.
And you never know what to expect.
Hope to God that things turn around after November 3rd.
So get in and hang Hang On with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
The place of sanity.
Welcome back in. 20 minutes past 5. It is time to take a look at your weather forecast, and it is gorgeous. Tomorrow, just like today, perfect. High near 70. We were talking before we went on. This is ideal weather. When you've got to put a sweatshirt on or a sweater on in the evening because it gets a little crisp, and then by noon the next day, you're in a golf shirt and maybe shorts. It doesn't get any better than that. So enjoy tomorrow. There's a chance of rain on Sunday, but just a 30% chance of rain. A high again near 70, and then starting back on Monday, it looks like more of the same. High in the mid-70s, low to mid-70s, and low in the upper 40s to low 50s. Weather brought to you by our friends at University PC Care. And look, many organizations today simply react to IT issues after damage is done. This is known as the break-fix cycle in the tech industry. Your computer dies, you call for help, submit a ticket, a tech shows up trying to fix it, reacting to your request. All the while, you're down, losing productivity, maybe losing all kinds of files as well. Wouldn't it be nice if someone could keep you from going down to begin with? University PC Care's Business Services Division has a better way, a proactive solution called BizCare. BizCare tech support and cybersecurity plans are always on duty, staying ahead of potential problems, keeping you up and running with less downtime, and much safer from threats like ransomware. Call William, 394-8572 to schedule a free business services consultation, or go to universitypccare.com to learn more. Keith Kidwell has asked the citizens of North Carolina to join him and others in a day of fasting and prayer to ask God's continued blessing on our great state and people, that he might bring to office people who will serve in his name. Prayers and intentions will be offered. Representative Kidwell encourages all people of all faiths to join in prayer on October the 14th, 2020, the day before early voting starts, in front of the Beaufort County Courthouse located at 112 West 2nd Street in Washington at 10 a.m. Then to continue in a day of reverence, prayer, and fasting, as we're told to do in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and will heal their land. Representative Keith Kidwell represents North Carolina's House in District 79. Keith is on the line with us right now. Keith, welcome back to News and Views. Good to have you with us, and thank you for doing this. If we ever needed prayer, it is right now.
Well, Tom, and that's exactly what my thoughts were when I was moved to do this. Is we're as a nation, certainly as a state as well, we're facing some trials that I know we've not seen in our lifetime, and I'm hopeful that we can do as the Bible tells us to do, is to turn our face and seek the Lord and pray, and hopefully he will heal our nation. So what I'm asking is on October 14th, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm asking all the representatives, in fact, I sent it out to all the representatives in the House to have them do likewise in their respective counties, and just have some prayer and fasting and see if we can get people to pray enough that we can have an outcome that on these elections, for people who would do the Lord's work and bring our nation back to what our founding fathers believed it should be.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like we always put prayer off as the last thing we do when it should be the first thing we do. And my goodness, if we ever needed to pause and reflect and reprioritize and, beg the Lord for forgiveness, because, man, you look at where we are today compared to where we were just a few decades ago, and it makes one's head spin. But go ahead.
Yeah, if you had told me, Tom, when I was growing up that we would be doing the things we're doing today, that our politicians and elected leaders would do with impunity, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah,
there's no way the United States will ever be that, but we're unfortunately there, and if we don't turn around and seek the Lord's forgiveness and help, unfortunately, I think it's going to get a lot worse.
So the 14th is a Wednesday, and you're going to get underway at 10 o'clock in the morning in front of the courthouse in Little Washington. Is there going to be a program per se, or are you just going to have folks get up and pray and encourage folks to continue that throughout the day?
So basically what I'm going to do is show up there with a speaker and a microphone. I'll open it up with a prayer and reading of 2 Chronicles that you just read. And from there, we're just going to see where the Lord takes us. I don't know how long the meeting will last. I'm just asking that people come, and if you want to bring a chair to sit in, that's fine. We're just going to go with it and see what moves upon us, and that's how we're going to end.
Yeah. There has been a lot in the news statewide. Of course, we've had the whole fiasco with the State Board of Elections. We talked to Tim Moore yesterday, and it seems somewhat encouraging that this Judge Osteen has put on the brakes on that. But we've got that. We've got the governor opening up as we speak. I guess it starts, what is it? Did it start at 5 o'clock, phase 3, or sometime today? 5 o'clock. Okay, so we can go out and imbibe at a local bar, I guess, tonight, or go, I guess the gyms are already open. What can we do now that we couldn't do at 4 o'clock, Keith?
Well, so, one of the things, as you mentioned, the bars are going to be open, but interestingly enough, the movie theaters are opening as well. But here's what I don't know, maybe I just don't have a mind like our governor, thank goodness, and I don't understand his thought process, because we're going to allow 30% into a movie theater, 30% of their normal volume of people, but in bars, we can only allow that, but out of doors. And I don't understand. Does the COVID virus not go into movie theaters, but it does go into bars? I don't get that.
Good question.
That's way too complex for my way of thinking down here in Beaufort County. I'm just like, wow,
Well, I don't understand why there's different percentages depending on the size of your venue as well. I mean, isn't the smaller venues are limited just to a pure number, and the larger venues can go to 7% or something like that?
That's correct. Yeah. So, your movie theaters, I think the movie theaters were set at 30%, but regardless of what they're set at, it makes no sense that a movie theater, you can go in there and sit there for 3 hours in fairly close proximity, and that's indoors. I don't think they said the movies have to move outside, but I didn't read that anyway. But in the bars, you can't go sit in the bar and drink at the bar unless it's out of doors, unless you have food on the table, because evidently COVID doesn't come around when there's food on the table. So I don't know.
What is the percentage for the stadiums? Is that 7%?
It's 7% if it's a venue over 10,000, I believe.
Well, I don't get that either. Why would a movie theater allow 30% and an outdoor stadium only allow 7%? That makes zero sense.
Here again, and unless you're a bar, then you're allowed to go more, and the big stadiums is less. And very seriously, let's call this out the way it is. If you have a venue that holds over 10,000 people, so you're talking 20, 30, 40,000 people, and you can put 7% in that venue, are you even going to open?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
You're not going to make a profit.
Right. It's going to cost you more to open than...
Exactly, because you still have to have the restrooms available and clean in the seats. And matter of fact, it's going to be more expensive now for them to open that venue than it was prior to COVID, because now they have to sanitize everything before, during, and after.
Well, Keith, you're a student of politics. What is? I mean, we somewhat facetiously, but somewhat seriously, have looked at the quote science and data that Governor Cooper says he is, adhering to constantly. He and Mandy Cohen constantly leaning on that. But is the science and data of political polls more important than the science and data of medicine?
Well, we've also said, Tom, kind of tongue-in-cheek, and here's what I think the governor's doing is he's using political science and not medical or that type of science. It just doesn't pan out the way he's doing this. In fact, I would argue that his timing in choosing to go to phase 3, thank goodness we got past 2.7890, whatever we were at last week. But I have to question his timing on this. It seems to me to be a purely political move. Election day's coming up. He's in a tight race, and I think he's trying to at least move somewhat more toward the center on this to try and get some of the people who are just, quite honestly, sick of this.
No.
And, no pun intended, COVID, it's real. There's people dying. The way we've handled this is just way out of scope with what's happening. There's a lot of things we should have done that we didn't. The nursing home should have been dealt with a little differently. I'm thinking, wouldn't it have made sense if we'd have taken a hospital or a floor on a hospital or a section in a hospital and made that a COVID section and not had people in the nursing homes, or set aside 1 or 2 nursing homes that were specifically for COVID people? And it just, to me, the way this has been done is ridiculous. We're now going to turn around and start opening the schools back up. Last week, you couldn't have the schools open 2 or 3 weeks ago when school went back in session. I just don't get it. I don't see how these things change this frequently. It may have something to do with the fact that the person in charge of DHHS that's helping the governor make these decisions is not actually a doctor.
Yeah.
And she hasn't had a license in years.
Bingo.
So, yeah, that's actually one of the pieces of legislation that I'm going to look into when we go back in January, is to insist that a person that's in that position is going to advise our governor in medical practices should actually be a doctor, I would think. It's a no-brainer to me, but, I sit here dumbfounded by the things our governor does, to be honest with you.
Keith, this is Bennie Hardy. You spend some time in Raleigh, probably certainly more than I do and Tom does, and not necessarily in the General Assembly, but what are you hearing out of Raleigh? Raleigh obviously is, a kind of a Democratic stronghold from a political standpoint. What are you hearing from Raleigh, the business owners and people in Raleigh? Raleigh has been double hit by this with the COVID thing
and the riots.
And we've got a governor that just kind of stands down and essentially lets them take over a capital and take over businesses. And downtown Raleigh is just, I can't believe what downtown Raleigh looks like. What are you hearing from some of the people in Raleigh area, or are you hearing?
Well, they're absolutely livid to the fact that, exactly as you say, that these businesses are being permitted by our governor, and I would assume the mayor of Raleigh, to be torn apart. You're talking about Raleigh was such a beautiful city. I mean, absolutely stunning. One of the most beautiful capital cities in the United States, and the governor has allowed it to be trashed by a bunch of renegades that simply, they're truly not out there protesting. Let's call it what it is. They call it mostly peaceful protest. That's ridiculous. These are not protests. They're absolute riots. And I have to, again, let's go back and question the governor's logic. I was in Raleigh standing at the General Assembly building when he had a lady arrested because she dared to put her foot on the sidewalk in front of the governor's mansion, yet he'll allow them to go in and pillage and burn and destroy businesses, but don't walk on his sidewalk.
Yeah.
Keith, guys, got to be done differently than what we're doing, that's for sure.
Let me back you up to as probably March or April, when the governor started giving his executive orders and declarations, emergency executive orders, when he didn't get the approval of the Council of State. And I remember you and I talked about this on the air back then, that you were very much wanting to put together some sort of legislation in the future to prevent this from happening again, where the governor would just have these really unearned powers, but somehow he's managed to continue to dictate how we're going through this whole COVID process, and again, without the Council of State's approval. And I think at one point you were talking about trying to introduce legislation that if something like this happened again, that he'd have to call the legislative body back into session to get their approval. Am I correct in my summation of that, and where does that stand?
So, yeah, I actually did on April 28th, the day we reconvened at the earliest possible point. I had already drafted the legislation and submitted it. It didn't move simply because the governor wasn't going to let it. So what my intention is, in the hope that Dan Forrest gets elected, that I will resubmit that legislation that will do exactly as you said. One, it will call us back into session. Two, is the governor would absolutely have to have the Council of State agree to a statewide state of emergency. It does not prevent the governor from calling a state of emergency. We got 10 counties going to get a hurricane or a tornado, a flood, something like that. It still works because a statewide is defined as 67 or more counties. So basically, we have to go back in. We have 15 days to vote to stand with the governor on it or to say, no, we don't. And then if we don't vote within the 15 days of going back into session, then it would automatically expire and we would go back to normal rules. The governor's power that he has usurped on this was never intended for an epidemic. I'm speaking to an attorney because, quite honestly, if Cooper gets reelected, which God forbid, but if he does, I've already spoken to an attorney. We're going to look at filing a lawsuit that says we need a definition of an emergency because an emergency is a immediate danger. We are no longer in an immediate danger. So the Emergency Powers Act truly does not apply any longer when you're 7 months into something.
Right. We talked about this at the time. An emergency is a hurricane or a tornado or something that we've got to address within 24 hours, and we don't have any other choice. Keith, let me just interrupt you real quick because this is breaking news. President Trump is being flown on Marine One to Walter Reed Military Medical Center for treatment after being tested positive for COVID-19. That's just breaking news. Don't have anything more on that, but I wanted to throw that in. Keith, let me ask you one other thing before we let you go, and that is the state has trying to help families in the fallout of COVID with the financial issues that we are having, and that's the $325. I guess it's a tax credit, isn't it? That you all have proposed that certain families would be eligible for.
Yeah, it is a tax. It's a tax refund, if you will, a credit, what have you. It's going to come back to the people. It is designed, our purpose on this was to deal with the people that are incurring additional expense with children in school. So that it's going to be $325 per family if they have an eligible child. And the definition of eligible is going to be if you have a child on your federal tax return that qualified for the child tax credit, then you're going to see that $325 come back. And that's supposed to happen automatically. It's going to be an electronic deposit if that's what you had with any prior refund. And my understanding is the Department of Revenue will set up a website for you to designate where it to be sent if you did not have a refund. And also, if they don't get you that way, they'll send a check. So it's going to be coming out, to my understanding, somewhere around the middle to end of October, so shortly. And it's just kind of a little mini bailout for folks that have children and had to incur expenses. Because, they got to, whether they're off of work because their children aren't in school, whether there's additional expense they have for having those children at home and studying, some of them might have had to change or upgrade their internet or just get internet. So there's a lot of additional expense, which I'm well aware of since we homeschool. We've been dealing with that ourselves for quite some time. So.
Right. All right. Well, let me close with what we opened up with. On October the 14th, Representative Keith Kidwell is calling for a day of prayer, focusing on Beaufort County, but certainly anyone within our listening area is encouraged to participate. That'll take place at 10 a.m. in front of the Beaufort County Courthouse. Keith, thank you for all you do.
Let's everybody pray for the president today.
Please do.
And for Melania. We definitely need him at the helm and keep us going. And thank you, Tom.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you for your service, and stay with us. Benny and I'll be right back.
The Wash House Laundromats is a family-owned and operated business serving North Carolina for over 50 years. Our motto is clean clothes fast. Most locations open 24/7. We have the largest washers, hottest dryers, and save you time with friendly staff and upfront parking. We can handle any size load. Hotels, motels, gyms, hair salons, and other businesses love using the Wash House Laundromats. Thank you to all our patrons, the wonderful communities we serve, and our amazing team members. God bless you, and God bless America.
Raleigh politicians put big cities first and rural communities last. But Chris Humphrey is one of us. Humphrey helped balance North Carolina's budget so we can combat crises like COVID. Humphrey fought to raise teacher pay and secure millions in COVID relief for small businesses and workers so local families can weather this storm. Chris Humphrey, fighting for us because he's one of us. Humphrey for State House.
I'm Chris Humphrey, and my campaign paid for this ad.
Caraway Office Solutions connects their clients to a better way of doing business through integrity and respect while seeking God's greater purpose for their company and their clients. Don't let their competitors tell you about their business. Give Bernie and Hayden Caraway the opportunity to connect you to a better way of doing business. Call Caraway Office Solutions at 252-752-4661 or visit them on the web at cosnc.com. And go Pirates!
With over 50 stores in eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, Duck Through Food Stores offers brand name gas in a wide range of food, snacks, and beverages. Get your Duck Through Rewards card and receive 25 cents off per gallon upon registration. After that, Duck Through Rewards members receive 3 cents off on all gallons of gas up to 20 gallons. And cool rewards like buy 6 20-ounce Pepsi products and get the 7th free. Get your Duck Through Rewards card now and start earning points for discounts on gas and free drinks and snacks. Duck Through.
Timeshare owners, what I'm about to share may save you thousands of dollars. I'm Gordon Newton, president of the Newton Group and author of The Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. In the last 15 years, I've heard everything imaginable from exit companies trying to get you to hire them. I've heard them advertise a money-back guarantee. The truth is, those guarantees fall flat time and time again as bad exit companies file for bankruptcy and take your money with them. I've heard them try to earn your trust, claiming they pioneered timeshare cancellation in 2008. The ugly truth is that's not possible. Newton Group has been leading the exit industry long before that. I've even heard exit companies pay celebrity endorsers to convince you they're experts. The truth is the experts at Newton Group wrote The Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. Every year, timeshare owners lose millions of dollars by hiring the wrong exit company. If you want out of your timeshare, call Newton Group at 800-800-1764 for your free no-obligation consultation and free copy of the guide. That's 800-800-1764 or newtongroup.com.
Life is chaos.
It's a crazy time right now.
And you never know what to expect.
Hope to God that things turn around after November 3rd.
So get in and hang on with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
A place of sanity.
Welcome back in. Again, as we mentioned just before the break, the president is being flown to Walter Reed Hospital in Marine One. Apparently the White House said this is out of an abundance of precaution. Don't know, is that, obviously that's what you would say. Hopefully that is what it is. But we will keep an eye on the breaking news and see if we can find something out for you on that. Again, the president is being flown in Marine One to Walter Reed Medical Center. And, what is it? Is spiking the fever? He's feeling lethargic, or is it just, hey, this is a good idea to do just as a precaution. In other news, a recent poll found that a strong majority of Americans have a favorable view of police, while over half have a negative view of Antifa. I'm surprised it's not larger than that. The latest Harvard Capps-Harris poll of registered voters found that 68% of respondents had a favorable view of police and only 24% had an unfavorable view. Only 14% of respondents had a favorable view of Antifa, while 55% had an unfavorable view of the left-wing anti-fascist movement. Of course, it's only an idea, right?
Yeah.
It's not an organization, it's an idea. Favorably of Black Lives Matter sat at 51%. Again, I'm surprised it's that high. Now, this was taken recently. This was at the end of September, so it's just a couple days old. The poll comes after all the unrest across the country and the deaths of George Floyd and others. 73% of poll respondents supported deporting illegal immigrants who committed crimes, and 80% supported fully prosecuting rioters and looters who took part in protests and were arrested. Again, this is a Harvard Capps-Harris poll. So, I mean, this is not some right-wing organization. I would think, if anything, I would label that as a left-wing organization. Okay, maybe neutral at best, but it's not right-wing by any means.
I think it explains a lot, though, because as we've talked about before, these campaigns get information on polls a lot sooner than the general public does. So this kind of explains, the Democratic Party for 90 days was silence on any law and order issues and, defund the police, reimagine the police. They probably had this information a couple of weeks ago. Now all of a sudden their narrative has changed. So
yeah. Yeah, and again, you're going to continue to see. Unfortunately, there's just so many organizations, so many people, so many candidates out there that have their they wet their index finger and stick it up into the political winds to see which way they're blowing, and that's when they come out and say what they say. This is an interesting story. Boeing, who is not doing well. I mean, Boeing is having all kinds of problems, but they're still manufacturing jets, albeit a fraction of what they were manufacturing a couple of years ago, or just a year ago for that matter. But Boeing said yesterday that it will consolidate production of its two-aisle 787 jetliner in South Carolina and shut down the original assembly line for the plane near Seattle. Now, it's interesting because Boeing hasn't come out and directly pointed the finger towards the unions. But just remember that they started building jets in South Carolina because of the unions and the unions striking, the mechanics striking up in Seattle. It sounds to me, based on the story, and a bunch of different media outlets carried this since yesterday afternoon, it sounds to me, though, that their goal is to get out of Seattle. Can you blame them? I mean, the nut capital of the world, but also, it's in South Carolina, they're not having to put up with the unions. And I would not be surprised at all to see the majority of the manufacturing switch down to North Charleston, South Carolina. I would not either, because they have the infrastructure down there, and several years ago, as you probably recall, Boeing was looking at the Global Transpark in Kinston. Yeah. And I followed it quite a bit in the Seattle papers because I figured, you get more information out there. And I don't think people locally really realize how very close Boeing was looking at moving to the Global Transpark. It was actually one line. Maybe it was their Dreamliner. I think it was their Dreamliner line. But still, yeah, that would have been a big deal. Well, and I think what you're seeing in Charleston is that would have been the toe in the water. Yep. Okay, can we come down here and can we accomplish what we want to accomplish? Can we find the people to run the assembly line? There's enough people to hire. Of course, you have Boeing come in. That's going to attract bees to honey. But nonetheless, it looks like they are moving towards South Carolina. I got to take another time out, but when we come back, there was a piece that was written by a young man out of Mecklenburg County, and it goes back to the debates on Tuesday night. The guy's name is Patrick Miller. It is very, very well written. He and a friend of his, some of the information he got from a friend, and he added to it, but it's the best piece. I mean, some of the things that we talked about earlier in the week on Wednesday of why the president did what he did, I just think it's very well written and very well said. I want to share that with you when we get back.
Our local police matter. That is why Tony Moore is running for North Carolina House. Tony's opponent, Candy Smith, has had several run-ins with law enforcement and court summons in multiple counties. Police officers filed a lawsuit against Candy Smith, alleging that she was initiating confrontations and interactions with GPD officers to file complaints against them. Our local law enforcement have a difficult job and deserve our support.
I am Tony Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Tony Moore to NC House.
Scotland Eckhart Pine has a great supply of rustic white oak, the wood that homeowners are trying to find for the finest homes throughout the eastern seaboard. Rustic white oak can handle kids, pets, and the stresses of daily life, and it always looks great. Scotland Eckhart Pine has long links and wide planks, the best of the best that create the look that discriminating homeowners are seeking. Call 252-536-1348 or go to snhartpine.com today and give your home the wow factor with help from Scotland Eckhart Pine.
Jim Clement from Town Insurance is with me in the studio. Jim, this has been an interesting time for everyone. What has Town Insurance done differently during the crisis?
First, Henry, we've tried to put our people first, make sure that they're safe in their working environment, and we've been able to adopt a policy where people are working remotely from home on a rotational basis. Secondly, we've got to be realistic about the situation we're dealing with. We're all being impacted one way or the other by this pandemic, and we've got to acknowledge the reality of the situation and try to stay positive for our employees as well as our clients.
You work with a lot of different insurance carriers, Jim. What are they doing for your clients right now?
Each of these carriers is trying to establish what is the new normal, and that means being flexible in payments and being adaptable to change.
You guys are the best, Jim. We appreciate your information and what you're doing for your clients right now. For more information, call Town Insurance at 252-756-8300. And as Jim always says,
it's time to come to town.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
We choose truth over facts.
No matter what he says.
I got hairy legs.
No matter what he does.
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Just goes to show you that this election is anything but normal.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black, play the radio. Make sure the television,
The countdown to the presidential election continues on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Mike Lee apparently has also been diagnosed tested positive for COVID-19. And of course now all the Dems want to, we have to delay the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett. And I don't think that's going to happen. Mitch McConnell, I think they'll do a virtual with Mike Lee. They'll go forward, but Chucky Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and I think Feinstein, they've all come out and said, you got to delay it. Yeah, you got to delay it.
I believe I read today Judge Barrett tested positive this summer, I believe.
Oh, is that right?
I think I read that somewhere
so
today.
She's good.
Yeah.
A young man out of Mecklenburg County by the name of Patrick Miller, he and a friend of his had a response to the debate and the pushback to Donald Trump in the debate. I thought it was very well written. I'm going to share it with you. He writes, a friend wrote much of the comments below about the debate. I agree with him and have added my own comments as well. I saw a man who has been attacked over and over for us and for this nation. He is fighting to save our nation from the destruction of our republic from a socialist takeover. I love our president. I love that he is a fighter. The September 29th presidential debate, what did I see? This is the question I had to ask myself after watching the verbal WWE match that was the presidential debate, listening to lie after lie, watching Chris Wallace pander to Biden, then finally begin to soften to Trump, only then to go back to pander to Biden. Watching Trump continually interrupt Biden, listening to Biden call Trump a racist, listening to Biden call Trump a liar. I spent the next several hours in wonderment asking myself the question, why and how? Then I started looking back over the past 4 years. An illegitimate scam impeachment, the Mueller investigation, Russia collusion delusion, attacks on the First Lady, attacks on his children, rape accusations, continual lies to create investigations, falsified FISA application. The list goes on and on and on. Then I started to realize this was Trump's real first opportunity to unload face-to-face on a man who was responsible for much of what he has to endure and tolerate for the last 4 years. The recent revelations from declassified documents and information gathered by the DOJ in the Attorney General Barr and Durham investigations show clearly that Joe Biden was in the room with Obama, Susan Rice, James Comey, and others when they were managing the Crossfire Hurricane investigation that was used to try to frame candidate Trump and Michael Flynn for completely fabricated charge of colluding with Russia. Biden is among the most powerful and corrupt people in Washington who tried to destroy President Trump and anyone else who attempted to get in their way. It has even been brought to light very recently regarding the Ukraine situation, Biden's son being paid $3.5 million by the Russians. Trump is angry, and rightfully so, not with America, but with Biden. He was angry at Schumer, Pelosi, and other progressives in government and the media who blatantly ignored all the facts that have come out. They are all repeating the same disgusting lies that have been proven to be completely wrong. Many liberals who once loved and praised Trump when he was giving them money and when they were hanging with him and their rich friends at cocktail parties are now grinding and gnashing their teeth at him. They are lying about him because he has committed the unforgivable sin of running for the presidency as a Republican. They hate him because he targets and exposes their hypocrisy and willingness to sell out America and Americans while they enrich themselves. So no wonder Trump was a bit riled up. No wonder he came out looking to finish the fight liberals started. Am I happy about last night's performance? No. Do I understand last night's debate? Not really. Do I get what happened last night? Yes, absolutely. Trump is ready to go to war. Biden knows it. Shots were fired across Biden's bow last night by Trump. Biden has now been informed by Trump that he knows what Biden did to him. The gloves are off, and Biden could be in big trouble if Trump wins. If Trump wins, the Durham investigation continues, and heads will roll. How do we talk to our kids about the debate? Well, in context of what I just shared, Trump has been characterized by the media as a bully. That's easy to do when liberals control the media and the narrative. It is a well-known fact, as in publicized by the New York City papers, how Trump stopped his limo, jumped out to save a guy who was being mugged on a New York City sidewalk. The truth is, what Trump did that day is a metaphor for what he's been doing for the United States of America, trying to save the people that are hurting. It is a well-known fact that Trump has paid for many homes for those in need, as well as Trump has paid for the education costs for countless kids. The narrative that's being pushed by the mainstream media is not who this guy is. Is it any wonder that he came out fighting? I just think it's well written. I think he makes some great points. Hey, listen, pray for our president, pray for our first lady, and we'll join you again on Monday. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
Karen Kozel is running for North Carolina State Senate because Don Davis sided with